Awesome.
I'm nervous.
No, we know. So I appreciate you coming to talk.
Of course.
Do you want to start by introducing yourself?
My name is Emily.
Emily. Okay. Brandon. Nice talking to you.
Nice to meet you.
So yes, we are talking about veganism.
Okay.
Are you currently vegan or vegetarian or anything?
I'm neither.
Neither. Okay. So I guess you're wondering why you should be vegan.
I was more wondering to come over and have a conversation because I didn't know what was going on. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, pretty much what I'm doing is I'm trying to talk or debate or educate people on veganism.
Okay.
So I guess I will start by defining veganism,
Okay.
and then you tell me if you disagree with anything, all right?
Perfect.
So veganism is an ideology that rejects the commodification of animals, right?
Which means?
Which means that we don't want to use them, abuse them, or kill them for food, clothing, entertainment, or anything else, right? So we don't want to inflict any rights violations on them for our own gain, essentially. So what about that definition do you disagree with?
I'm not sure I disagree with anything.
Okay.
I think that all makes sense. I have just never been in a position that's like I would choose to do something different. I've grown up with I eat meat, I do this, I do that, but no one's ever told me anything that should be different.
Right,
You know
like
what I'm
that
saying?
no one ever presented the idea that you could do
Yeah.
something different.
Right. So growing up is you eat meat, that's what it is, and that's it. Yeah.
So that's good. So that's awesome. I guess, is there something that you think would be preventing you from going vegan?
Yes, because it's very hard to. That's my best friend. Ignore him. It's very hard, I think, to come up with alternatives that satisfy you the same way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you say satisfied, do you mean like nutritionally? Or you just mean like preference, like changing the foods that you enjoy or that you're used to?
Yeah. When I say satisfy, I don't know a lot about nutrition, but like when I say satisfy, just like something that makes me like. I go home, I eat a meal, and I feel good.
Right.
And I go home, but I don't know anything about much. Not in a bad way, but I've never been educated on anything. So.
Yeah, and most people, most people even, forget about vegan or not, have a poor background in nutrition just because we're not really taught
because no one ever teaches us anything throughout all of school. Like, I know nothing. Like, I grew up in, you should eat meat, and you shouldn't do this, and this is what makes you feel good. So, I was just curious.
Right. I would say that, obviously with any type of dietary change, it is going to feel a little bit off, right? With any type, we'll forget about diet, but with any change, right? Even changing, maybe the shoes you wear or the pencil you use or something, right? It's always going to have an adjustment period. Yeah. But I would say that there are, I'm sure, most of our diets should be primarily plants anyway, but there are a ton of different varieties to substitute meat with. For example, right, let's say you normally have, just an example, like steak, potatoes, and broccoli or whatever. Instead of having steak, potatoes, and broccoli, you could have chickpeas, potatoes, and broccoli. You could have rice and beans. You could have, tofu. You could have a vegan meat alternative. They actually have a new Beyond. I don't know if you're aware of Beyond.
Like Beyond Meat.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have a new Beyond steak. It's fantastic. It's really good. It tastes
I love
very
steak.
good.
I love steak so
Yeah,
much.
and it's actually they're steak tips. So they I don't know if they've been able to make a whole steak that well yet, but they do have steak tips, and you can make steak and cheeses. We do it all the time. It's awesome.
Yeah, that is
So
very cool.
definitely the food is there, and they have them at major grocery stores, Market Basket, Stop and Shop, stuff like that.
Do they all cost the same? It's the same monetarily wise?
So when it comes to vegan diets in general,
It's going to be a little expensive, obviously. A little more, but nothing outrageous.
yeah, nothing outrageous. Yeah. And then that's for the fake meat.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about beans, tofu, whole grains, those are way cheaper.
Yeah, they've always been the same. It's always been the same. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So, in terms of cost-wise, you should be fine. It's just about experimentation. And what I recommend is to start, you always start with one meal at a time.
Okay.
So if you could make one meal vegan,
Every
and that
day.
works, and then do the next meal, and then do the next meal, and eventually you'll come up with different foods that you like, and you could just completely go vegan.
It's a really great idea because all you need to do is start with one thing, and then the next time. So you start with one meal every day for 3 weeks. Sure. And then for the next 3 weeks, you start for 2 meals.
Sure.
And so that means in the next what, 6 months, you would completely
go
be
vegan.
Yeah.
And you'll have the experimentation of finding out what foods you like.
Yeah.
And then once you start going down the rabbit hole, you realize that you'll never look at animal products, meat, dairy, eggs, as food ever again, right?
Yeah.
And to reiterate why we should care, right? So the reason why the 10 or 15 minutes that you sit down and eat that food doesn't matter as much is because of the harm that it's causing. So there are,
What is the harm?
Great question. So the reason why we care about animals in general is because they're sentient.
Okay.
And sentience means they can feel pain, feel joy, they can experience the world, right?
Okay,
They have a level of consciousness,
Yeah.
which is why we can eat plants, but we care about the well-being of animals. And just some numbers. So about 80 billion land animals are killed every single year for food.
Okay.
Including fish, it's trillions of animals.
Yeah,
So
land's not including fish?
yeah,
Okay.
just 80 billion is that's cows, chickens, and pigs, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
like some sheep, lamb,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
But that's 10 times the amount of people that are on the earth are being slaughtered every single year, right? So not only are we slaughtering them, which is a rights violation by the billions, but we're also putting them in cages, mistreating them. Dairy and eggs, a lot of abuse. So in order for cows to produce milk, they have to be pregnant, which means their babies get taken away so we can have the milk. Same thing with chickens, any type of eggs that are hatched that are males, they're useless to the egg industry, so they get blended alive or they get, suffocated, stuff like that.
Without seeming rude or like non-educated in the area,
No, go for it.
what do we get from not doing that? Okay, so we do unfortunately slaughter all these animals and other things, but like if we stop it, what do we get?
Well, there's two things, right?
I'm sorry, but without being
No.
rude, I'm devil's advocate. Like, just like, what do we get? Like,
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So, like, when we're looking at an injustice, right, or an immoral action, right, it's a lot easier to want to make the change for a selfish reason versus looking at it from the victim's perspective, right?
Yes, of course.
So, like, for example, when we're talking about what do we get? Well, there's a couple things that's beneficial for humans when we go vegan.
So that's what I was asking.
Yeah, which would be the
Without
environment.
being, like, the complete, without being rude and stuff. I'm just
No.
playing devil's advocate. Like, what do we get from not doing this?
So a couple things. Vegan diets with the best peer-reviewed studies we have for now shows higher consumption of plants, whole grains, fruits, whole grains, vegetables equals better health outcomes. So vegans are at the lowest risk of most of our chronic diseases, heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure. Separate from that, there's also the environmental impact. So crops are way more efficient to produce per calorie compared to pork, chicken, beef. Yeah.
Okay, with them still like living the way they are and like producing, and that's what you're saying, right? Like with them still surviving and like them giving the nutrients. I'm sorry, for like eating and then producing. It's like the circle, right? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying like compared to the animal agriculture industry that we have, the 80 billion land animals, because we have to feed those animals in order to keep them alive long enough to slaughter them.
Yes.
Plus we have to give them land. We have to.
So I was saying, so what do we get? So we do keep them alive that long, right? And we don't kill them, but they're giving back to the environment somehow.
Well, no, this wouldn't be, so like the reason why we have so many animals, it's not a natural population. We breed those animals into existence.
Okay.
So the only reason why their population is so large is because we're breeding them specifically for production.
So I was just
So that's why it's so inefficient, because it actually, so like there's 8 billion people on the planet roughly. There's 10 times that just in the land animals that we kill. So that's a lot of CO2, a lot of resources that need to be used in order for them to stay alive on the planet. So, but in terms of, forget about what we get, the reason why we care is because it's an immoral action, right? So think about any other thing like sexism, racism, homophobia, right? What do the people that aren't a part of that group get, right? They don't really get anything, right? What we do get.
A happy life if we all.
Well, it's about caring about being logically consistent and having a more moral and inclusive world, right? That's ultimately what we get, because while maybe a straight white male may not be part of that group today, they may be part of another group tomorrow, right? Because once you allow one form of discrimination, you allow them all, essentially, with the same logic.
I do love meat. It's fine, but I'm being open and honest. I wanted to come talk to you.
And that's why we should care. So like, just because you may love the taste of something.
Well, I'm not saying I love it. I came over here to educate myself because I have never educated myself on it, and I've read and heard of all these other things. But that's why I came over and just wanted to learn more, and now my friends are being dickheads.
That's all right. But I encourage you, look, if you would consider yourself an animal, I'll give you a card. You would consider yourself an animal lover.
I do love animals. I do love animals. It's just been hard for me, like, it's hard to switch, right, from like what you're used to.
Absolutely. Any change is going to be a adjustment period, but I urge you to take that leap and to start making that change if you love animals, because it's a direct contradiction. So I urge you, and there are nutrition resources on the website. There's studies, there's other YouTube channels, so check it out.
I really appreciate you.
Nice talking.
Thank you for being out here, and I really appreciate you.
Oh yeah.